Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call to order the public budget hearing for Lincoln Way Community High School, District 210. Please stand for the pledge if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Janik? Here. Ms. Janice Doyle? Here. Mr. Kirking?
Here.
Mr. Lacine?
Here.
Mr. Lucetti?
Here.
Mr. Kostick?
Here.
Mrs. Stokes?
Thank you. And welcome, everyone. At this time, we'll have our public comment. We have one gentleman signed up, Mr. Al Murray.
My name's Alan Murray. I spoke at the last board meeting and pointed out the fact that nearly half the student body at Lincoln Way 210 was not proficient in either reading, 59%, or math, 57%, and we needed to do something about that. Also, there were many parents at that meeting that were upset about mandatory masks and unproven COVID restrictions. We felt that the school board was not standing up for our rights, and we needed to do something about that. Since that last board meeting, we've done something about it. We've organized a new citizens group. By the next school board elections, our new Lincoln Way area coalition will be several thousand members strong, and I'm here tonight to announce that we need to see marked improvement in academic proficiencies, or we will be forced to replace some of you. Thank you.
Are there any public comments for the board administration regarding the proposed 22 budget? Thank you. At this time, I will close the fiscal year 22 budget hearing.
We would need a motion and
I'm sorry, can I get a motion?
So moved.
A motion is second.
Aye.
Ms. Janice Doyle? Aye. Mr. Kirking? Aye. Mr. Lacine?
Aye.
Mr. Lucetti?
Aye.
Mr. Kostick?
Aye. Moving on to the consent agenda, which consists of the approval of the regular meeting minutes from August 12th, 2021, the approval to hold the closed session meeting minute summaries from January 1st through May 31st of 2021, approval of the payrolls from August 20th and September 3rd, 2021, the personnel reports, the 21-22 compensation reports, the out-of-state travel. And would anyone like anything pulled from the consent agenda for discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second from Mr. Lacine and Mr. Janik. Linda, if you would open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the action items. We will begin with the presentation of invoices from August 13th through September 16th, 2021.
Motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $3,943,922.32, dated September 16th, 2021.
Thank you. I have a motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the treasurer's report for July and August of 2021.
Thank you. Monthly financial reports for both July 31st and August 31st have been provided. I will focus on the most up-to-date financials here tonight. The district has a positive cash variance of $4.5 million through the end of August. This is primarily due to timing of revenues and expenses in three key areas. One is our tax collection rate. Property tax receipts are trending ahead of what we anticipated. Initially, at this point, we projected we'd receive just over $2 million of local tax revenue in August, and that figure was actually just over $5 million. Second, you'll see about $700,000 in other revenue. Approximately $500,000 of that is receipts from elementary transportation payments from our feeder districts. Those were just received sooner than anticipated, and so they hit the books in August. So those two key areas led to revenues trending a little bit ahead. And then capital improvement expenses are trailing a little bit. Payments to contractors are lower than we anticipated at this point, just because the summer projects took longer to wrap up. Final punch lists were still being reviewed in early September. Mr. Wilkie and I sat in those meetings, where in other years those would have been concluded in early August. So happy to take any questions at this time.
The tax collection, does that have anything to do with the splitting of the payments, allowing people to pay in, was it quarterly installments rather than twice a year?
Yeah, it may. It's hard to predict because, again, the variance from this cash flow is comparing where we anticipated, and our cash flow estimates are based on historicals from prior years. And so obviously it's trending ahead of what we thought because we were delayed in the spring. We thought that would carry forward and we would get more of it later into this fall. And because of that split, I mean, that could well be impacting it, but we are trending ahead.
What was the shortfall from last year?
From last fiscal year was
Last
about 5
fiscal
million,
year.
I believe. Correct. Yeah, about 5 million.
So-
And I will add, I'm pleased to report our overall net cash balance is $10.5 million higher than at this point last year. I do want to give the board a heads up that next month you should expect some deviation in the monthly financial reports. If you look at the cash flow report here this month, look about 3/4 of the way down the first page, you'll see we're scheduled to receive our most significant tax distribution for the fall here on October 7th. Last fiscal year, that happened on September 24th. So at the October meeting, when reviewing September financials, we had that in the revenues, and so when I come back this month, just a heads up that we will be off, and then at the end of October financials, we'll be back on par.
Is that just a change in how Will County's paying the taxes?
Yes.
Anything else on the treasurer's report? If there are no other questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Second?
A motion, a second, and a third. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open.
I got nothing but aye.
The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Oh, there it is. Just popped up. All right. Moving on to the student activities report.
Student activity report is included in your backup material for the month of August 31st. Our fund balance is $2,231,093. Revenues of $413,000. Expenditures of $345,268. One negative balance, cheerleading central. As you recall, that was also negative at our last meeting. That has now been corrected. So at the time of this meeting, we have everyone back in the positive. Answer any questions if you have any.
If none, I'd entertain a motion to pass the student activities report for August 21 as presented. A motion and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Adoption of the fiscal year 2022 budget.
Thank you. The tentative budget has been on display from last board meeting through today, and we've obviously discussed different iterations of that budget both in June and August. Tonight, I'm presenting it here in its final form for adoption by the board. I do want to highlight a few refinements that we've made over the past few weeks. Will County released some preliminary data about a week ago on where they believe new property will end up for 2021. Their estimate at this time is $72 million, and it's only going to go up from there as we close out the calendar year. We had initially estimated $60 million for new property, and so the additional revenue generated from this difference is about $350,000 or so to the district. Those revenues will be collected during the 2022 calendar year, and so they'll be split across fiscal years. And so we've added just shy of $180,000 to anticipated tax revenues for FY22. Similarly, if the board does decide to move forward with any debt service abatement, that will impact calendar year 2022 tax bills. Initially, we had budgeted for that abatement to have an immediate effect. However, it needs to be calculated off of the county's tax extension. So that will be similarly split across fiscal years, and we've made that adjustment to the revenue lines. The impact is now a smaller reduction in FY22 and then a carry forward for the other half in FY23. We've made minor changes to interest income and evidence-based funding, and those have also been incorporated. In total, just under $1.3 million in revenue adjustments have been added into the budget. For expenditures, we've now finally slowed down a little bit in our hiring now that the school year is underway. We did update all staff contracts, and we refined, to the best of our ability, our estimates for open positions. The overall impact here on salary and benefit budgets is $200,000. In order to maintain a 3% operating surplus for the budget, we did reduce our contingency by $85,000. And that leads to a net increase of $115,000 for budgeted expenditures here in the budget's final form. That might seem noticeably different than the change in revenues, but just a reminder that primary adjustment in revenue is for the debt abatement adjustment, so the operating surplus is still 3%. And then finally, I would just like to remind the board of the fact that this budget is a roadmap. These are our best estimates, as you know, of what will occur. I wish I had a crystal ball, and the cooling unit at Lincoln Way East is evidence to that fact that I do not have a crystal ball. So our business office will monitor our financials daily, and we will provide updates monthly to the board, and I will keep you all apprised of any major changes in revenue expenditures as we move through the fiscal year. Happy to take any questions at this time.
It's fine for this year, but, I mean, normally, best practices, do you think using a contingency, I know we put it in last year because of COVID, and we can continue this year, but is that something you think we would continue on an ongoing basis?
I think it's a fair question, and I think it depends on the philosophy of the board as we budget. I mean, if the variability there is COVID has a lot of mitigating factors, and the variances are high, and you want to include a contingency for the unexpected, I think as we move out of COVID and we build a pretty robust plan for capital improvements and pre-funding for Fund 60 and things like that, as we get more and more financially stable, we may wish to move away from it. But I think that depends on the philosophy of the board ultimately, if you want that cushion there or not.
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's fine now as we transition out of COVID, but no, I just think we should be, I mean, we're in much better fiscal shape than we were previously.
Mm-hmm.
I think, obviously, there were a lot of unknowns going into last budget year when we added it in. I think those still are fair game right now, but I think, you know, I think it's a more transparent budget if you don't just have a line item that is just for, you know, contingency. And I know we used it back 5 years ago, or 6, 7 years ago, when we were so tight on our budget that we couldn't have any variation, but I just think that we're at a point that we could move away from that as we get out of potentially COVID.
No, I'd agree. I think, you know, I was kind of the one champion in that last year because we didn't know what we didn't know. And so it was just the idea to have a place marker for not knowing what was gonna step. I would totally agree that as we move forward, I think that
Okay.
that should, if not be condensed, eliminated, so that if it falls in the bucket, it falls in the bucket, and then if there's a variance, there's a variance. And we don't have this kind of open-ended item that could pick up other stuff. So I think this year it's fine, but I think as we go forward, I would advocate that we step away from it now that we know what we know, and we can better plan for it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I also echo the same comments. I mean, next year, I think we'll probably be in a totally different position. I don't have the crystal ball either, but I'm confident.
Thank you for the input.
What do you guys think we should spend the $320 extra of investment income on?
I wish it were more.
If there's nothing else, I'd like to, looking for a motion to adopt the 2022 budget as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second, and a third. Linda, if you would open the vote, please.
Vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the school maintenance project grant.
Sure. Just very briefly, the state of Illinois has allocated $47 million for school maintenance projects this fiscal year. This is a dollar-for-dollar matching program. I believe the district has done this in the past, and it provides for awards up to $50,000 per grantee. To qualify for the money, projects have to focus on maintenance and upkeep of educational buildings. You can see in the cover I provided you tonight that the state ranks those projects across 5 priority levels. We're looking at level 2 in the life safety area. This year, the district is applying for $50,000 in matching funds for asbestos abatement needs here at Lincoln Way Central. I do want to note for the board here tonight, in a prior grant award, the district was given 2 years to spend this money, which is why you see FY23 in the cover memo before you tonight. At this time, the FY22 grant application window includes an end date of June 30th, 2022, which is a change from prior years. I've not yet received confirmation either way, but we have no concerns about completing enough of this summer's asbestos abatement prior to June 30 to meet the $50,000 amount. Rich Wilkie has $200,000 already scheduled, and this has been scheduled in our capital improvements plan. And he has that work beginning on June 1st, concluding by August 1st. So if the grant timeline remains as is, it simply means we just need $50,000 of the abatement project completed prior to June 30th, which again is a non-issue at the time. So what will happen is with board support here tonight and approval, this is then certified by the board president, and then I submit the application and can do that tomorrow.
So, do we have a number 1? Like you were talking about East, something happened at East. Do we have something that would fall into the highest priority bucket?
So if you consider that an emergency, and we did think about it, we have a mobile chiller handling that at East right now. And so in terms of coverage, I think we're okay for the time being. What we would be looking at is simply shifting this. And we've applied in the past at level 2 for life safety and received the award. It's not like they prioritize us and wouldn't award us the $50,000. This is I'm I can tell you with confidence that we should be receiving this $50,000 to offset expenses. So it's just whether it's at the chiller or whether it's for the asbestos abatement. It's a good question, though.
It's just a total of $50,000 to the district, not $50,000 per.
Correct. It's, any grantee, any district just
Okay.
gets 50,000, but the important part is we have to match it, but because Rich has 200 in the capital plan for asbestos, it's a non-issue, and we'll get the 50.
And the 47 million, does the state expend all that money, or you see here, sometimes these programs, only 40 get spent, and there's another 7 million hanging out. Can we go back again at the end of the year?
So this is round one.
Right.
I think if they have unspent money and they release a round two, I would be the first one in line. But that is yet to be determined. I don't know, obviously, so.
If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to submit the school maintenance project grant as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. And our last action item of the evening is the second reading for policies.
Included up in your backup materials is the policies for June. There were no new policies that were part of the memo to come from press. Just updates to some language and mostly footnotes. So I would recommend that we accept the adjustments, the updates from press as presented.
Thank you. If there's no discussion, I'd entertain a motion to pass the policy change as presented, or update, rather, policy update.
I have one quick question regarding the Transitional Bilingual Education Programs Parent Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Is that who?
Which, help me.
160 English, under English learners?
Do you have a
It's on
page?
page 2 of this one.
So, what I can tell you is we are ramping up our ELL. That's part of the
That's what
$200,000 increase in our budget from original proposal till now. And so that would fall under Dr. Ferry's auspice and something we will be doing. But
Okay.
we've added EL sections, several in the last couple of days.
Okay.
If nothing further, I'd entertain the motion.
So moved, sorry. I was looking at me.
All eyes are on you, Beth.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to informational items. 8:43.
843 minutes are included in your backup materials. They did pass their budget at their August meeting.
Thank you. FOIA requests.
Nothing to report this month.
Building and grounds.
Once again, in your backup materials, if there are any questions, I can get those to Mr. Wilkie.
Asset of the month.
Asset of the month for September. Honesty. Kids feel that they have control over many things that happen to them. And model honesty in your daily life. Be honest with your children, your spouse, coworkers, friends, and neighbors at school. Encourage and expect all faculty and staff to model honesty. And in the community, be willing to get involved when you witness dishonest behavior.
Thank you. Board goals for 21-22 school year.
Included in your backup materials are our draft goals for the upcoming year. If you get time over the next couple of weeks, please take a look at those. Get back to me, or we can discuss those at the October meeting. Goals have been updated and adjusted, kind of post-COVID a little bit. As you recall, last year we were kind of developing them as we went. But we've made some adjustments to curriculum and instruction. Mike has updated our financial goals. We've got a new community relations person that I will introduce to you after the board meeting, and we will just continue to move forward. But if there's any suggestions you may have, please get those to me, and we'll have those updated for the October meeting.
Thank you. Legislative report.
I will be providing information in the Friday update tomorrow. They're in Springfield now. Good news is they've stayed with the original proposal for budgeting for school districts, so we'll be held flat for categoricals. They put several $1 million in additional funding, but as they conclude here in Springfield this week, I'll provide an update probably the end of the day tomorrow.
Thank you. District report.
Nothing additional to report at this time.
Any other district business? No. Then correspondence.
Once again, we are an active IASB member, so the certification letter is provided in your backup materials.
Thank you. If there is nothing further on the informational items, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss collective negotiating and to establish the sale or lease price of real estate.
So moved.
A motion is second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
There may be action after closed session this evening. All right. Okay. All right, we are now back in open session, and I believe we have a motion.
I would ask the board to approve the Transportation Incentive Program as discussed in closed session.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Linda, you want to open the vote, or you want to do a oral?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you, and I believe that concludes our meeting for the evening, so if there's nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned.